Hello and welcome to Business Matters. I'm Tony Bonsignori. On the programme today, I'll be joined throughout the programme by the independent economist Andy Zhai, is in Hong Kong. A few facts about Andy, educated in Shanghai and at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Ex-World Bank, was also an economist, a star economist, I keep reading, at Morgan Stanley on Wall Street, left in 2007. Since then, became a very well-known independent economist and speaker, noted for his bearish views. Well, let's drill down a little bit into those stories there with Andy himself. Andy, I've heard you described repeatedly as a bear, an uber bear, I think, somewhere. So how bearish are you and what are you bearish about?
Well, I think that I was described as a bear, but it's not entirely accurate because I saw China coming in the 1990s. I probably was the first one to call China the factory of the world to be. And I think the issue is that China's problem is there is such a thing called too much of a good thing. Most developing countries need investment. But China is a country that has invested too much. That's a simple story I've been saying for a long time. It's there's too much of a good thing, and the Chinese government was focused on investment. That was the right thing to do when China was very underdeveloped. Now, with empty buildings everywhere and highways not really used everywhere, you keep investing half of the money in the country. You're causing financial problems, and so that's why the government is perplexed why the economy is not reacting, why the economy is slowing down like that. Their answer, unfortunately, has been maybe we should do more. So here we are. It's so
you think they're just digging? They've dug a hole and they're digging deeper and deeper and making the problem worse. So where, Andy, do you think this might end? What worries you? What's a scenario that makes you, wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat?
Well, last year was a capital flight. For developing countries, usually hard landing comes with a capital flight. So, the government was effective at shutting down the outflow. Now the economy is stabilized. So that's why people are feeling a little bit better. But the issue is that the fundamental problem is not being resolved. It's just the symptom of this capital flight is being stopped. And so you feel like the risk of imminent hard landing has diminished. But I think that the government is still not coming around to deal with the real issue. That's the investment size is too big for China.
Welcome back to Business Matters on the BBC World Service with me, Tony Bonsignori. Now, if you've been listening for the last half hour, you'll know we have a new guest on Business Matters this morning, the independent economist Andy Zhai, joining us from Hong Kong. I just want to find a little bit more about Andy here and what makes him tick here. Probably not that fashionable a view, I would have thought, among the Chinese establishment, certainly. Tell us a bit about your background. What sort of led you to these sorts of views?
Well, I have some differences from the usual economists you see. One is that I studied engineering school, and all my classmates are kind of builders, and you go to China to see all these spanking new buildings and bridges. My classmates are really important to those. So I understand this desire for building more things. The other is that when I was at the World Bank, I saw failures in a lot of countries that used to be very kind of hopeful, and then they became problems, like in Southeast Asia. And then I also joined Morgan Stanley and came to understand the financial markets. And the financial markets make mistakes, and the financial markets can make big mistakes. And so these are, so I'm. On the one side, I'm more wary of government overreaching. On the other side, I understand that the markets are not always correct. So I've been in the business of predicting things, because I do not believe that the government and the market always have the right answers.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about markets making mistakes. I think it's fair to say and please correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, you made a bit of a mistake when you were at Morgan Stanley, which led to your departure. So again, it's one of the things that you quickly find out about yourself if you look on the internet. Tell us very briefly sort of what happened and how it changed you.
Well, I was at the World Bank and IMF conference, and so I went back and wrote an internal email. Usually, an analyst would do to tell salespeople or about what happened and what I learned and so forth. And so I did write about Singapore. The real Singapore was not the Singapore that people were talking about, like technology and so forth. The real Singapore was really the financial bit, the money from other countries flowing to Singapore, oftentimes corruption money. And I anticipated that the corruption money from China would go to Singapore in a big wave that would lead to another wave of prosperity.
But you wrote this in an email, didn't you?
Yeah, and it was leaked by a salesperson to an outsider. Then it got leaked to everybody in Singapore, and then the government got mad. So, but so I told my boss it was okay for me to leave. I did not want to cause Morgan Stanley trouble because Morgan Stanley was good for me for a long time.
Yeah.
And, I didn't wish to see that. But unfortunately, my prediction in the email about the Chinese corruption money has turned out to be true.
So your prediction was right, but you shouldn't have put it in an email. There you go. There's a lesson.
Well,
there's a lesson
is that
for all of us.
Yeah, the emails, you can never delete your emails. I think Hillary Clinton is learning that.
Thank you. That was Andy Hsein in Hong Kong. Thanks for listening. Business Matters from the BBC back tomorrow.